Let's talk about deserts. Deserts are characterized by three main factors: rainfall, temperature, and soil. They receive very little rain, between 10 to 25 centimeters on average per year. As well as they have very hot temperatures during the day of around 100 degrees Fahrenheit, and some deserts have very cool nights of around 25 degrees Fahrenheit. This, along with the arid soil, leads the deserts to the dry, humid climate they are known for. There are four main types of deserts: hot and dry, semi-arid, coastal, and cold. The different types of deserts will receive different temperatures and rainfall. But the main deserts are found in North Africa, Southwest U.S., Mexico, Australia, and some parts of Western Asia.
This is a food web of the Gobi Desert. On the bottom, we have the primary producers, and they're a lot of the plant life in the Gobi Desert: saltwort, saxel tree, wild onions, and bindweed. And then on the second row, we have the secondary consumers, and most of them are herbivores and eat a lot of the plants and bushes on the first row. And then on the top row, we have the tertiary consumers, and like the golden eagle, Gobi bear, and snow leopard. They eat the animals in the second row, but also a lot of them also eat plants. The black-tailed gazelle is the keystone species of the food web because it's very essential to the plant life and to the snow leopard and other larger animals that eat it. So the 10% rule means that when energy is passed in an ecosystem from one trophic level to the next, only 10% of the energy will be passed on. In our food web, if saltwort has 1,500 calories, when the jerboa eats it, there will only be 150 calories. Then when the golden eagle eats the jerboa, it will only be 15 calories because they only get 10% of the nutrients as it goes up the food web. Mutualism is the ecological interaction between two or more species where each species has a benefit. So an example of mutualism in the Gobi Desert is the relationship between a Gobi woodpecker and a cactus, because the woodpecker feeds on insects and parasites that could harm the cactus, and the cactus benefits by getting groomed, and the woodpecker benefits by getting food. Next, commensalism is an association between two organisms in which one benefits and the other derives neither benefit nor harm. The relationship between rodents, like the jerboa, and snakes is an example of commensalism because snakes use the underground holes that the rodents have made, which benefits the snakes but doesn't impact the rodents at all. Next is parasitism, which is a symbiotic relationship between species where one organism, the parasite, lives on or in another organism, the host, causing it some harm, and it is adapted structurally to this way of life. In the Gobi Desert, the tsetse fly lives off the camel. This is an example of parasitism because the fly gets food and nutrients while the camel can get diseases from the flies. Next, predation is a biological interaction where one organism, the predator, kills and eats another organism, which is its prey. A common example in the Gobi Desert is the golden eagle and the jerboa. The golden eagle hunts, kills, and eats the jerboa, and the jerboa is its prey. And the competitive exclusion principle is when two species are competing for the same limited resource and they cannot coexist at constant population values. An example is the Bactrian camel and the black-tailed gazelle, because they both compete for the same grasses to eat, which is why many times Bactrian camels go hungry and often actually eat trash.
There are three main factors that cause deserts to be hard to live in. One is water. There is very little water held in the ground, and water that is held is very deep down. As well as there's very little rainfall leads to the lack of water that make it hard for animals and plants to grow. This leads to no high shrubbery, causing the second factor. The increase of availability for sun reflect off increases the temperature during the day, causing it to be very hot. The heat and the lack of water lead to a dry, arid soil that is hard to grow in. This is the third factor that affects people and animals living in these areas. One economic value of the deserts is in fossil fuels and oil, which is found there. However, the extraction of said oil causes land to be taken away from native animals, which is separating them. One way we can combat that is by having better governmental regulation of the area and what areas can be used. Another human activity is the nomadic people who live in the desert who move around. Their moving around is taking away resources that other animals need. A way we can stop that is by also regulating more how much water usage and land usage they use for grazing and themselves.
The main plants in the desert are Saxel, Haloxylon, Almodendron, and Saltworth, Sasoloculi. Saxel is a very important factor in the ecosystem. It is one of the only sources of water in the desert. Some of the major adaptations are that it has water reserves behind its bark so that it does not dehydrate. Saltworth. This plant has a very high tolerance to salt. This helps it survive in the harsh conditions of the desert. Having this high tolerance means it can strive where there is less vegetation. Another adaptation it has is that it has tap roots, which help it store water for long periods of time. Here are some animals in the desert. First, there's the marbled polecat, or Vomella paragusna, and the golden eagle, Aquila chrysitos. The marbled polecat is a native animal to the Gobi Desert. They are very good at adapting to a new environment and usually live in open desert areas. They have very short legs and long claws for digging out prey and also digging burrows. They also have 34 sharp teeth that assist them in capturing prey. The golden eagle is also native to the Gobi Desert. They build nests at high altitudes and prey on rodents, small mammals, and small reptiles. They have adapted to catching prey on the ground, so they don't have as many feathers on their legs. Most birds of this size do not have feathery legs due to the fact that they hunt during flight. Here are some endangered species of the desert. First, the Gobi bear, Ursus arctos gobiensis, then the marbled polecat, Vomella paragusna, and also the dwarf bear puppy, Arctomicon humilis. The Gobi bear is one of the rarest bears in the world. The reason for the decline in the species is the average temperature increase. The temperature increase is decreasing the amount of available water, which also decreases vegetation. The vegetation is the bear's main food source, and when there's less of it, the bear will starve. The marbled polecat is also an endangered species. The reason for the decline is the scarcity of food. The polecat lives in burrows and hunts for food in those burrows. The lack of water and the global temperature increase has also caused the food to decrease, which leads to food scarcity. Lastly, there's the dwarf bear poppy. The reason for their decline is because of collecting. The bear poppy is a very rare plant and is collected to be put in your local gardens. The average global climate increase is also affecting the poppy. The desert is already hot enough, so the increase in temperature is making the plant also die out.
Some invasive species are buffalo grass and cactus moth. Buffalo grass is a shrubby grass in most deserts. It is about 1.5 to 3 feet tall, which makes it easier for it to spread its seeds. The reason why this plant is so harmful is because it grows in a bunch, which means any native plants near it will not have any water due to the fact that the buffalo grass will be sucking up all the water. This grass is placed in deserts as livestock forage. Cactus moth is a moth native to South America that has spread all over the world. This moth is very harmful to cactuses. The moth is introduced to a lower level of cactus in area, but they spread rapidly. They spread rapidly due to the fact that the renounced quickly and they had an abundance of food. These moths are very hard to manage. You cannot spray any pesticides anywhere to kill them. They keep spreading.